Hi everyone, a little bit of a different crochet tutorial today with me, Laura, because I'm actually in Scotland at the moment, so a little bit of a different setting, a little bit of a different background. But today's video, I'm going to show you how to not only make a little puff stitch shawl, but I'm going to also do a little bit of a yarn review and show off some of these new Chunky Pot yarns by Paintbox, which I've been lucky enough to get my hands on. These are absolutely gorgeous. This one here, this Chunky Pot here, is colour Harvest, so getting all very autumnal and sort of that sort of time of the year, isn't it? And this one here is called Making Hay. So I hope you can see the colours on there. So it's more of a browny grey, hints of yellow. And this one, I love this one the most because this has got a real sort of harvest festival type sort of feeling to it, very, very autumnal. There was another colour, but it's already been made into something, which was this colour. And this colour was called Sweet Dream, and it's got lots of pastel shades of yellow, orange, purple and blue. And this one's already been made into a little baby blanket. So the pattern to this you can find on my Instagram. It's super, super simple for beginners. So check out my little Instagram up there. But today we're going to be making a puff stitch shawl, and I'm going to be choosing the this one here. So this was the Harvest colour. Now 200 gram balls, you get quite a lot of yarn with them. 272 metres. And what's this say? Hint, try new colour combinations by starting your project from the outside, centre or even halfway through the ball. Oh, that sounds interesting. So there we go. I'm gonna be starting from the outside, I think. But for the puff stitch shawl, it's a triangle shaped shawl, and you only need one of these Chunky Pots to make it. And with that, we're going to be using an 8mm crochet hook. So I'm you're seeing a different one here, a bamboo one, because I don't have bigger ones in my normal crochet hooks. And it's also a good idea to have a pair of scissors and a yarn tapestry needle as well. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so I'm going to take the Harvest ball, and we only need one of these Chunky Pots to make this shawl. And the first thing we're going to do is our little slip knot. So let's do our slip knot first. Hopefully you can see her right as well, because not only am I in a different location, I'm using a brand new camera because my other camera. So chain 1, 2, 3, and 4 chain. We hook into there, bring the yarn through the first chain and straight through the loop on your hook to do a little slip stitch. And then our 4 chain loop is joined at the beginning and the end, and in the middle is a hole, and into that hole we're going to work some stitches. Now this pattern's in US terminology, but I'll give UK terminology as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little chain 1 to begin. Let's do a little chain 1. We're not going to count that as a stitch though, it's just a bit of leverage. Then finding the center of your loop, which is there in the middle. Don't confuse it with your first chain hole, which can look quite big. We're going to yarn over and into the center of our loop, into there. We're going to do a double, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, so chain 1 and 2. And then we're going to do our first puff stitch. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to put our hook into the centre of our 4 chain loop, into the middle, and we're going to yarn over and bring it through the yarn. Okay, and you've got 3 loops. Go back into the centre again and bring the yarn through. Into the centre again, bring the yarn through. You end up with 7 loops. It's a little bit like the bead stitch, but we're just working it a bit differently in the spacing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops. Then we yarn over. We're going to pull through all 7 loops. Give it a little wiggle. And that's our first little puff stitch. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we are going to chain 3 again. So chain 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do another little puff stitch. So we yarn over first, go back into the centre, bring the yarn through, and then bring that up a little bit. Yarn over, into the centre again, bring the yarn through, bring that up a little bit, stop. Yarn over, 3rd time, last time, into the centre, bring the yarn through, and you've got 7 loops. We yarn over and pull through all 7 loops. Get a little wiggle as it comes through. Okay, and there's our next little puff stitch. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to just repeat that until we've got 3 puff stitches. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, do another puff stitch. So yarn over first, go back into the middle, bring the yarn through, just bring it up a little bit. You can see the colour changing now. This is what I love about this yarn. You just, every so often you get a new colour just appearing, so it's going to not only create a really interesting project, but it's actually quite exciting seeing what the next colour is going to be. But, okay, where do we get to? We've got 3 loops. We yarn over, back into the centre, bring the yarn through, 5 loops, yarn over one more time, back into the centre, bring it up, got 7 loops, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops to complete our little puff stitch. Okay, we're going to finish up on this row, chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're just going to finish with a double crochet, just 1 double crochet in the centre. So just a normal double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2, that's a treble in UK terminology, and that's the end of our first row, as it were, for our shawl. Then we're going to move on to round 2, or row 2. Okay, so for this next row, it's quite similar. We're just going to do a little chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. We're not going to count the chain 1 as a stitch. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in our little 3 chain space. So just 1 double crochet, just wrapping it around the 3 chains. Okay, so a little double crochet in there. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do a puff stitch in the same 3 chain space. So we yarn over, go back into the same 3 chain space and do a puff stitch, just wrapping it around those chains. Oh no, so we just bring that up 3 loops, yarn over again to the same space, bring the yarn through, yarn over again into the same space, bring the yarn through. We've got 7 loops, same as before, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops to do a little puff stitch. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, so find your next 3 chain space, just put your hook into there, do another puff stitch, 5 loops. So you always yarn over before you go in, yarn over, pull through all 7, okay, little puff stitch in there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then find your next 3 chain space and do your next puff stitch. Okay, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops, wiggle. Okay, then what we're going to do is we chain 3, stitch, just like before. Yarn over, pull through all 7 loops. We're going to finish up by chaining 3, 1, 2, 3. Move on to the next row. Okay, so this row is a little bit different, but it starts off the same. Do a little chain 1, don't count that as a stitch, and turn. Then in your first 3 chain space, we start off with just a double crochet. So we'll do just a double crochet first. Then let's move that over, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do a puff stitch in the same 3 chain space. So yarn over, in, pull up, yarn over, in, pull up, yarn over, in, pull up, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops to complete your little puff stitch. Then we're going to chain 3 and move on to the next 3 chain space, chain 3, and in there do a puff stitch. 1, 2, 3. So just 1 puff stitch in there. There we go. Okay, then we chain 3, 2 and 3, but in this center, the top 3 chain space, we're going to do 2 puff stitches, but we're going to do 3 chains in between. So do our first puff stitch first. 1, 2, 3. So this is our first puff stitch. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do another puff stitch in the same 3 chain space at the top. This will create the triangle effect. Give it a little wiggle. Okay, so you've got 2 at the top there. Then we're just going to finish the pattern to the end. So we'll do chain 3. So always chaining 3 in between. Puff stitch, just 1 puff stitch in the next 3 chain space. Just by itself. 2, 3. And at the end, chain 3, 2, 3. Do your last puff stitch. 1, 2, 3. Last puff stitch. But then we always finish up with that double crochet. So move that over and we just chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and a double crochet in the same last 3 chain space. Okay, so let's bring that up. So that's the end of round row 3. So we always start with a double crochet and a puff stitch in the same 3 chain space. What we're going to do now though is in this middle 3 chain space we're always going to do 2 puff stitches. So the next row what we would do is chain 1, turn, and 1 double crochet, chain 3, puff stitch in there, and 1 puff stitch there, chaining 3 in between, puff stitch in there, 1 puff stitch in there. But in this top middle one we do 1 puff stitch, chain 3, 1 puff stitch, and then the same pattern to the end. And just to keep repeating that over and over again with your chunky pot yarn, and hopefully you'll end up with a beautiful shawl. So we chain 1 and turn, do 1 double crochet in the first 3 chain space, just a double crochet, chain 3, so we're always chaining 3 in between anything we do, and then 1 puff stitch in the same 3 chain space, and then we're going to do chain 3, 1 puff stitch in the next 2, and this middle one where we've got the 2 puff stitch we do 2 puff stitches as well. So just repeat that on and on and on, and I'll do that and then I'll come back and hopefully you'll have a beautiful shawl. So just 1 puff stitch in there on the sides, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then 1 puff stitch by itself in there, which are like little bead stitches, all very similar. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3 in between, and then we're in this one at the top, so we're going to do puff stitch, chain 3, puff stitch. In the same 3 chain space, chain 3, puff stitch in the same one, so let's move that over. 1, 2, 3. There we go, so that's at the top, 2 in there, and then just repeat the pattern to the end, ending with a puff stitch and a double crochet in the end as well. So I'm going to do that, I'm going to repeat that over and over again, and then I'll come back and show you the finished shawl. So I hope you feel inspired. Oh, and we got our next colour coming through. Oops. Chain 3. And then don't forget that last double crochet at the end. And then chain 1, turn and repeat. Okay. double crochets at the beginning, then 2 puff stitches, chain 3 in between on the corner. So there we go. So I will repeat that and come back and show you the finished shawl. Okay, so I finished my shawl, and what I actually did, so I didn't waste any yarn, is you may not be able to complete a row towards the end, but rather than unravel the whole thing and have all this bit of yarn left over, I just literally crocheted until I couldn't crochet anymore and just stopped it here. So I was about 5 gaps short of the end, but all I did was I did my last little puff stitch there, chain 3, and then I just slip stitched into here to finish it off, and you really wouldn't notice, and that just utilizes all the yarn, nothing goes to waste. So all that's left to do now is to show you the finished shawl. So let's lift the camera up, and got my little my daughter's little bear here just keeping us company, observing us. So this is how big it is, and it's just getting caught. And there we go. So let's lift this up. So this is how big it is. Probably measures, let's see, it's about 30, 60, 70, about 80 centimetres along there. About 80 centimetres, something like that. About 30, 60, 90, about 100 centimetres across there, I think. But it's a really good size, and I'll show you some photos over the top of this video so you can have a look at it in different styles. But that's it, and I hope you've managed to follow along. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and I hope you'll check out this yarn. I love the varying sort of shades of colours appearing through. It was really good fun having the new colours appear, and it's a good size. And of course you can just continue with the same pattern. All you need to do is to make sure that you do the double crochet at the beginning and the 1 puff stitch in the same 3 chain space, then chain 3 and puff stitches all the way to the middle. And you can see here all the puff stitch increases are lined up, so every time you get to this corner you do 2 puff stitches with a chain 3 in between, and you just repeat that pattern, and then when you get to the other end, obviously you end on a puff stitch, chain 3 and a double crochet. So if you just follow that again and again, and you can make this even bigger, so you could actually get yourself a couple of balls of yarn and make it twice the size. Is entirely up to you. But I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye. Say bye bye, little bear. Bye bye. It's called Mr. Bear apparently. Mr. Bear. Mr. Yellow.